to 2021. We're so glad that we all made it and we could be here together to worship. I'm Mandy, this is Mike, and this is Brennan, and we hope you'll sing with us. Step out of the shadows, step out of the glow, break into the wild, and don't be afraid. Run into wide open spaces, graces waiting for you. Dance like the weight has been lifted. Graces waiting. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. There is freedom. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. There is freedom. Come out of the dark, just as you are, into the fullness of His love. For the Spirit is here, let there be freedom. Let there be freedom. Bring all of your burdens, bring all of the scars. Come back to communion, come back to the start. Run into wide open spaces, graces waiting for you. Dance like the weight has been lifted, graces waiting. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. There is freedom. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. There is freedom. Come out of the dark, just as you are, into the fullness of His love. For the Spirit is here, let there be freedom. Let there be freedom. Yeah. Let there be freedom. Whoa. Dance like the weight has been lifted. Graces waiting for you. Dance like the weight has been lifted. Graces waiting. Dance like the weight has been lifted. Graces waiting for you. Dance like the weight has been lifted. Graces waiting. Oh, dance like the weight has been lifted. Graces waiting. Oh, dance like the weight has been lifted. Graces waiting. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. There is freedom. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. There is freedom. Come out of the dark, just as you are, into the fullness of His love. For the Spirit is here, let there be freedom. Let there be freedom. Let there be freedom. Whoa. Let there be freedom.
Hey, what is up, everybody? Welcome to the TCC online campus. My name is Ben, and let me just say Happy New Year. I mean, honestly, I think coming out of 2020 into 2021, saying Happy New Year kind of holds a little bit more weight than it has in prior years. So let me ask you a question. How are you doing? And before you answer that, Chris is going to talk about this a little bit in his message today, just coming up here in a few short minutes. So hold off on your answer until after the message. 21 for 21. It's something that we're kicking off to bring in the new year right, to give you daily encouragement, just to understand there's so much potential in this year to come. 21 for 21, the link will be in the chat, so make sure you check that out. Check back every single day for some awesome encouragement. Also, if you're new, that's awesome. Also, there'll be a link in the comments in the description. Click that, and we'll send you a gift to ring in the new year. And just because we love you. So with that said, let's jump into some more music.
The weapon may be formed, but it won't prosper. When the darkness falls, it won't prevail. 'Cause the God I serve knows only how to triumph. My God will never fail. Oh, my God will never fail. I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. Whoa. There's power in the mighty name of Jesus. Every war he wages, he will win. Oh, I'm not backing down from any giant. I know how this story ends. Oh, yes, I know how this story ends. I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. Sing it. I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. Whoa. You take what the enemy meant for evil, and you turn it for good. You turn it for good. You take what the enemy meant for evil, and you turn it for good. You turn it for good. You take what the enemy meant for evil, and you turn it for good. You turn it for good. You take what the enemy meant for evil, and you turn it for good. You turn it for good. You take what the enemy meant for evil, and you turn it for good. You turn it for good. You take what the enemy meant for evil, and you turn it for good. You turn it for good. Oh, I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. Oh, I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. Oh, I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. You take what the enemy meant for evil and you turn it for good. You turn it for good. Yeah. You take what the enemy meant for evil and you turn it for good. You turn it for good. Yeah. You turn it for good. You turn it for good. Yeah.
So as we enter into a new year, it's daunting, it's exciting, it's full of potential, it's full of a lot of question marks, and that's okay. All throughout 2020, so much of the church has been so generous in every way possible, and we are so thankful for that. And for those who continue with their generosity, we thank you so much, because so many lives have been changed in such a hard year last year. This year, I'm excited for the potential lives that are going to be changed, the stories that are going to be written through your generosity. So thank you.
You are here, you're moving in our midst. I worship you, I worship you. You are here, you're working in this place. I worship you, I worship you. Sing that again. You are here, you're moving in our midst. I worship you, I worship you. You are here, you're working in this place. I worship you, I worship you. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. You are here, you're touching every heart. I worship you, I worship you. You are here, you're healing every heart. I worship you, I worship you. You are here, you're turning lives around. I worship you, I worship you. You are here, you're mending every heart. I worship you, I worship you. Oh, you are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God. is who you are. That is who you are. Whoa. Even when our eyes can't see.
Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop.
You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Sing that one more time. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. 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 Oh.
Well, the number one question that we all ask each other and gets asked of us on a daily basis is the question, well, how are you doing? I mean, this is that standard fly-by question. You could be rushing through the grocery store to pick up those, several items that your husband, wife text you and say, hey, pick them up for dinner. And you see that person as they approach you and you both ask each other, how are you doing? Or maybe you're rushing through Walmart or Target to pick up some supplies for your kids and you see that person and, you ask each other, how are you doing? You see, it's that question that we just ask, and it's almost just in passing, right? It's like saying hi, hello, how are you doing? It's just one of those daily questions. And we all reply with one of the three most common replies to this question. Now, if you're a grammar expert, and you're all going to be impressed with me in a moment, the grammatically correct way to answer this question is, I'm doing well, right? Grammar experts, yeah, you know. And so if you're that person, you reply, I'm doing well, and you kind of feel good because grammatically you checked that box. Now, if you have some sarcasm running through your veins, like I do, you love to respond to this question by saying, I'm doing fine. And here's the thing with fine. Fine has so many layers to it, doesn't it? I mean, if you're married or dating someone, you know. When your husband or wife, boyfriend, girlfriend says, oh, I'm doing fine, now you're tiptoeing through the minefield to figure out, what does fine really mean? If you have teenagers in your house, I have 2 teenage girls, I'm just telling you, fine is a loaded response. And there's sometimes I just don't think I really want to figure out what fine means. But the number one response, the number one answer to the question, how are you doing, is, well, it's one word. It's good. I'm doing good. How are you doing? Good. And you both move on your way. But here's what we all know. In that one word answer, good, doesn't mean you're doing good, does it? I mean, you could be having the worst day ever and you still respond with good. And you actually don't expect, when you ask the other person how they're doing, you really don't expect them to really answer the question other than by saying good. But here's what happens when we look at that person. They ask us, how are you doing? And you say, I'm doing good. Here's what's going on in our brain. What's going on in our brain is how we really are doing. And maybe it sounds like this. Well, since you asked, my dog just ran away, and my 17-year-old was boiling water for spaghetti and dropped her iPhone in the pot of boiling water, or a Honda Pilot, which we have had for 13 years, just died. Plus, I had to pay $2,000 to replace the grinder pump, which wasn't in the budget. And, well, personally, I'm mentally and emotionally exhausted. And, oh, by the way, I need to lose 15 pounds. I mean, that's what you mean by good. And if you're wondering right now, if you're just wondering, I wonder if all of those examples were like real examples for Chris's life. And you have to understand, they are. Seriously, they are. But here's the thing. So we answer quickly to someone's question, how are you doing? And we just say good. But in all reality, life isn't that good, is it? All the time. And every time we respond to someone, how are you doing? And you say good, there's a piece within you that, well, just gets kind of broken off because, like, don't you want someone actually to ask you that question and, well, for you to actually share with them how you are really doing? So in this moment, and you don't have to respond to anyone, but let me ask you the question, how are you doing? Really? I mean, how are you doing? It's a sincere question. It's a genuine question. It's an authentic question. I mean, really, how are you doing? You see, as we jumpstart this new year, this is the question that you must not just ask yourself, you must answer for yourself. This is the question that's going to guide this entire series. And, well, I just want to come beside you, partner with you, to help you, not just to try to wrap yourself around this question, but as you uncover some areas in your life, as you focus on some of the areas in your life where maybe you're not doing that well, that you start, well, focusing on how to become a healthier version of you. Because all of us have stuff going on within us. That even when we answer the question, how are you doing, and we say, good, well, we all know there's a whole lot more underneath that's not so good. We're going to be looking at this interaction with Jesus today. And, well, this interaction and how he answers this question is going to be another piece that guides this entire series, Jumpstart. And you see, Jesus' day didn't start off real good. Actually, his day started off filled with tension. You see, the Jewish religious leaders were doing everything they could to try to trap Jesus, trick Jesus. Why? Because they want Jesus gone. They didn't care if he got arrested and put in prison. They didn't even care if, well, someone decided to kill him. They just wanted the nuisance, Jesus, to be out of their space, out of their lives. And so the day started off with them intentionally doing everything they could to try to trap Jesus. One group of those Jewish religious leaders, the Pharisees, well, they came up to Jesus and they asked Jesus a Roman tax question. And what's interesting about the Pharisees choosing, well, this line of questioning to trick Jesus to use a Roman tax question, what's interesting about it is the Pharisees absolutely despised, hated the Romans. I mean, they wanted nothing to do with the Romans. In fact, the Pharisees did everything they could to try to overthrow the Roman influence and the Roman power. But yet the Pharisees, on that day, in that moment, chose a Roman question to try to trap Jesus. Another group of the Jewish religious leaders were the Sadducees. And the Sadducees came up to Jesus and, again, trying to trap him, to try to trick him. And they asked him an afterlife question, a heaven question, what happens when you die question. And another interesting insight. The Sadducees, they didn't believe in the afterlife. They didn't believe in heaven. They believed that when you died, well, you just ceased to exist. Again, interesting that both sets of Jewish religious leaders try to trick Jesus, trap Jesus in a line of questions that they didn't even believe in themselves. Which, oh, by the way, isn't this what religious people do to this day? Well, another group of religious leaders were the scribes. And actually that day there was one scribe that came up to Jesus. And, well, this is where we're going to jump into the story. One of these teachers of the laws, the scribes or the teachers of the law, came and heard them debating, meaning Jesus debating with the Pharisees and the Sadducees, and noticing that Jesus had given them a good answer. And this is a rare compliment from a scribe. Remember, the scribes were experts of the law. The scribes were the best educated when it comes to the Jewish religious law. The scribes were the best of the best when it came to all things Jewish law. And the scribes, I mean, they didn't want to give anyone else credit for their knowledge of the law, but this scribe was really kind of impressed how Jesus handled the Pharisees and handled the Sadducees. And so this scribe comes up to Jesus and will ask this question. It says, of all the commandments, which is the most important? And so when the scribe asked this question, Jesus knew exactly what all meant. You see, out of all the Jewish law, there were, 613 total Jewish laws. I mean, that's a whole big list of laws. And out of the 613 laws, there's 365 negative laws and 248 positive laws. There's 365, laws that stipulate what you couldn't do and 248 laws that stipulate what you had to do. And the scribe just simply asked, out of all of them, Jesus, you get a pick. Well, which one is the most important? Or simply put, hey, Jesus, what's in the number one spot? What's the number one law? Hey, Jesus, out of all 613, 365 negative and 248 positive, out of all those laws, Jesus, you pick. What's in the number one spot? And Jesus didn't have to hesitate at all. In fact, Jesus, my opinion, my thought process, he was just waiting for this question to be asked him. And Jesus responded. He goes, hey, the most important one in the number one spot is like, hey, scribe, I was listening to you. I know you said out of 613, pick one. And Jesus is like, okay, I'm going to follow your rules. I'm going to follow your line of questioning. He goes, the most important one, the one in the number one spot. And again, Jesus didn't have to think about this. Jesus didn't have to process this. Jesus didn't have to kind of go, well, I don't know, is that number one or is that number two or is that number three? No. Jesus knew right away. And he said, it's this one. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. You see, this in the Jewish faith is called the Shema. And that word Shema feels like one of those big, religious type of words. But it's not that complicated. You see, the word Shema actually comes from the Hebrew word for hear. And the Hebrew word for hear is the Hebrew word Shema. And that's why they called it the Shema. And out of all the prayers that the Jewish people would say, there was two number one prayers that were the most important prayers. And one of those, is the Shema. And the very beginning of the Shema is this line, Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one, or the Lord alone. It was keeping focused on the one true God. And the Shema goes on, and Jesus quoted it, saying to love the Lord your God with all of your heart and with all of your soul and with all of your mind and with all of your strength. I mean, Jesus knew, he nailed it. I mean, the Shema was, the most important. And what's interesting is Jesus was quoting the Shema. He outlined 4 very specific ways to love God with all your heart and your soul and your mind and your strength. But if you just took a moment and you just flipped over to Deuteronomy chapter 6, Deuteronomy is in the ancient Jewish scripture, what we call the Old Testament, where you find the original version of the Shema, you would quickly discover that the original version of the Shema, had heart, soul, and strength, but does not include mind. Which maybe you've noticed this before, and maybe you are asking the question now, did Jesus get it wrong? Why does the original version not include mind, but Jesus included mind? Did Jesus trip up? Well, remember, Jesus is talking to a scribe, the elite of all the elite when it came to Jewish law. The scribes knew everything about the law. And you see, the scribe didn't respond negatively to what Jesus said at all. The scribe actually listened to Jesus, and he was like, that the Shema is it. The scribe didn't point out, hey, Jesus, you added something to the Shema. So you have to ask the question, did Jesus get it wrong? You see, Jesus understood something that the scribe understood. And it's difficult for us thousands of years later because, it was a different time with different languages. You see, when Deuteronomy 6, the Shema was first spoken, written down, it was in the ancient Hebrew language. And what Jesus understood was something was very different about this word, heart, in the Hebrew. See, hundreds and hundreds of years later, languages have shifted. For Jesus growing up, he would have learned Aramaic, and the international language of that day and age was Greek. You think about it in our modern day context, different countries speak different languages, but the English language is the international language around the world. And Greek was that international language. So Jesus would have been raised speaking multiple languages. In fact, the sign that hung above the cross when Jesus was crucified had 3 different languages: Aramaic, Greek, and for the elitists out there, Latin. You see, they would have spoken multiple languages. And Jesus understood that, the ancient Hebrew word for heart, had several different contexts that he wanted to make sure it was captured. And so he used these 2 Greek words for heart and mind to capture what this one Hebrew word was saying. But let's not get lost in all of this, because really it wasn't about the heart, soul, mind, and strength. The picture Jesus was painting for us to hold on to is that we're to love God with all of you. We're to love God with our entire self. We're to love God with our entire being. With all that you are to love God. And Jesus said, number one, the Shema, love God with your entire self. And I think the scribe was sitting there going, okay, yeah, that's good. He's getting it right. That's the right response. Jesus is checking the box, and as the scribe was sitting there feeling kind of like, okay, he's on point right now. Jesus, well, he keeps going. And Jesus goes, and the second is this. And I think the scribe was like, whoa, Jesus, remember, I said, most important, the number one spot. Not number 2, number 3. No, Jesus, I was just asking the number one spot. And Jesus like, no, I'm not done yet. Because Jesus over and over again elevated and refined. Elevated and refined. Jesus like, no, you got to listen to me. Because the second one is to love your neighbor as yourself. Now in the Jewish culture, in the Jewish faith, neighbor was a very narrow group of people. In the Jewish culture, the Jewish faith, neighbor was only fellow Jews. If you're a Jew, you're my neighbor. Everyone outside of that circle didn't have to care about, didn't have to serve, didn't have to help out, didn't have to talk to, didn't have to treat nice, and certainly didn't have to love. In the Jewish faith and the Jewish culture, neighbor was only your fellow Jews. But remember, Jesus elevated and he narrowed. And Jesus redefined neighbor as anyone, everyone. That's your neighbor. He goes, not only to love God, you gotta love your neighbor. And then Jesus ends this with, I think, one of the most important aspects of everything he just said. He goes, there's no commandments greater than these. This one commandment, what? One commandment. Love God, love people. Nothing is greater. You see, here's a genius of Jesus. This is what Jesus understood. It's easy for us human beings to say, well, I love God and treat people poorly. It's easy to say, oh, no, I love God. I mean, I want to live my life for God. But in the next breath, right, put people down, tear people apart, not forgive people, disregard people. So easy. I love God. And Jesus understood this. And what Jesus did, and this is the genius of Jesus, Jesus said, hey, how you love God will directly reflect how you love people. How you love God will directly reflect how you forgive people. How you love God will be directly reflected on how you serve people. How you love God will be directly reflected on how you don't talk about people. How you love God will be seen by how you love people. And how you love people will reflect on how you love God. It's the genius of it. Jesus didn't say number 1 was love God and number 2 was love people. No, Jesus directly linked, directly connected, hardwired together. Love God and love people. It's genius. So let's pause for a moment. Let's pause for the moment. And let's just focus on loving people. Because this really reflects the depth of your love for God, how you love people. And I think conceptually, you're probably right now going, yeah, I want to love God, I want to love people. But what makes? Let's just, come on. It's a new year. Let's be honest for a moment. What makes loving people so difficult? And with one word, I'm just going to say what makes loving people so difficult. Now, with one word, I might offend some of you. And I'm just saying, I'm sorry. Give me a little space here. I think this one word actually gets us quickly to the space that reflects why loving people is so difficult. You ready for it? Loving people is difficult because there's a whole bunch of stupid people. Isn't there? I know that's not warm and fuzzy. I know that doesn't feel like, oh, can Chris say that? Like, can in the church, can you say things like that? You know, we all have to understand. We deal with stupid people all the time. Right now, you're actually thinking about stupid people in your life. And maybe the word stupid people, maybe the word stupid rubs you wrong a little bit. And every time I say it, like it's just grinding at you. Well, I can pick different words. You can pick whatever descriptive word you want. Maybe it's like this. Maybe it's selfish people or dishonest people or insecure people or even demanding people or, I don't know, codependent people or immature people or negative people or narcissistic people or vindictive people. I mean, you choose. You choose. But what makes loving people so difficult is people. But you see, this series isn't about all those stupid people in your world. And that's what we do as human beings. We focus on everyone else and we just don't pause and focus on ourselves. And this is what you have to hold on to. Do you realize that you follow you everywhere you go? It's true. You follow you everywhere you go. You see, we want to focus all of our time and effort on everyone else, why everyone else is stupid. And we don't like to take time to actually follow and look at and stare at and realize, well, just maybe, there's something within us that we should stare at because you follow you everywhere you go. It really has nothing to do with the people around you at all. So throughout the series, we're going to be looking at four different quadrants, very specific areas within your life that, well, I think all of us will need some healing. All of us, there's unhealthy parts in all four of these quadrants. And there's going to be two very specific, questions that I'm going to ask you that get attached to every one of these quadrants. The first one is, I'm just going to ask you to, assess. And the question attached to assess is this: where are you now? Again, in every one of these quadrants, where are you now? This is the defining reality. This is getting very honest with you, not other people around you, with you. Where are you right now? How are you doing? What's reality? But we're not going to stop with the assessing. The next step is critical, is to address. And the question is this: what do you need to focus on? What do you need to work on? What do you need to do about it? It's one thing to realize where you really are. But so many people, they get there, but then they don't want to put forth the effort, the energy to actually become a healthier version of themselves. Now, this is important. Maybe you're sitting there right now and you're thinking to yourself, right? Oh, great. This is just one of those series. And this is the warning. This is not a self-help series. You got to realize this. Because self-help is focused on self. Self-help, the end point is you. And the end point of this entire series isn't you. And you might be thinking now, well, Chris, you just said it was me. What is it? Is it me or not me? No. Hear what I'm saying. Self-help, the end point is you. And this is not a self-help series at all. Remember, this is a love God, love people series. And here's the thing. The healthier you are, the more that you focus on you and what you need to become, who you need to become, the more you're going to love people out of your healthy space, not your unhealthy space. Why? Because hurting people always hurt people. So what areas in your life are you hurting right now? And that's why you working on you is going to help you love people like you desire to love God. And the more you love God out of the healthy spot of who you are, the more you'll love each other. You see, both of these work together. And so this entire series, the end point isn't you. The end point is loving people and loving God. That's the end point. And as we work on ourselves, becoming a healthier version of ourselves, the more we will love people out of that health, out of that space, out of a place, not of scarcity, but of space of abundance. So, as you make your way through this week, I hope personally I've ruined the question, how are you doing? So when you ask that question, you get that question asked of you, maybe you just pause and you attach the word really. Let's pray. Lord, as we jumpstart into this new year, Lord, I just pray that we will pause and focus on becoming the healthiest, the best version of ourselves possible. Why? So that we can love you and love each other with the best part of ourselves. Lord, I know the answer to the question for so many people. People aren't doing good right now. It's just true. People are struggling right now that there's so many aspects that are just broken and fractured and missing and wounded and running on fumes. And so, Lord, I just pray that this could be just such a life-giving series where we just pour into each other, knowing that you are pouring into us, and knowing that as we work on ourselves, we will be able to love you and love each other in such a better way. God, thank you for loving us right where we are and walking with us and guiding us and being with us. In your name I pray. Amen.
Lord bless you and keep you. May his face shine upon and be gracious to you. The Lord turn his face toward you and give you peace. Sing that again. The Lord bless you and keep you. May his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord turn his face toward you and give you peace. Amen. 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 The Lord bless you and keep you. May his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord turn his face toward you and give you peace. Amen. Amen. sing it out. Amen. 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 One more time. Amen. Amen. Amen.
May His favor be upon you in 1,000 generations, and your family, and your children, and the children, and the children. May His presence go before you, and behind you, and beside you, all around you, and within you. He is with you, He is with you in the morning, in the evening, in your coming, in your going, in your weeping and rejoicing. He is for you, 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 yeah.
Amen. 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 Last time. Amen. Amen. Amen.
So let me ask you the question again. How are you doing? Really? Well, I hope you got something from the message. I hope that the music lifted you up. I hope that you have an outlook on the 2021 that is full of positivity, excitement, and just a yearning to make the best year of our lives. So we hope to see you back here next week for Jumpstart Part 2.